All right, let's dive right into a fundamental truth about how our minds work. And let's be honest, it's a pretty uncomfortable truth. We're talking about a mental shortcut that every single one of us takes, one that dramatically shapes how we judge other people and maybe more importantly, how we justify ourselves.
You read that and you just kind of nod, right? It feels so instantly true. It's like holding up a mirror to our own behavior, something we see in others all the time, and if we're being really real with ourselves, something we do too.
So that's the big question, isn't it? Why? Why are we so lightning fast to put other people on trial for their screw-ups, but then we turn into these brilliant legal eagles defending our own? That's exactly what we're going to get into right now.
Okay, to really get this, I want you to imagine a courtroom, but it's inside your head. And in this courtroom, you play two totally different roles. Which role you play all depends on who's on trial. Is it someone else, or is it you?
This is where that split personality really kicks in. When we see someone else make a mistake, bam, we're the judge, gavel in hand, ready to scrutinize, quick to criticize. We tend to connect their failure to who they are as a person, a flaw in their character. But when we mess up, the roles instantly reverse. Suddenly, we're the lawyer, mounting this amazing defense, justifying everything we did, and pointing to all the outside circumstances that were really to blame.
Now, this whole internal drama actually has a name in psychology. It's called the self-serving bias. And this is the engine driving the entire thing. It's our built-in tendency to take all the credit for our wins. I passed that test because I'm a genius, while we push all the blame for our losses onto something else. I failed because the teacher is terrible.
So let's put on the judge's robes for a minute and really look at the case we build against other people. When we step into this role, what exactly are we using to build such a convincing prosecution?
Well, one of our main weapons is confirmation bias. So let's say you already think a coworker is kind of lazy. Your brain will then actively hunt for and remember every single time they miss a deadline while completely glossing over all the times they did an amazing job. We're not actually looking for the truth. We're just gathering evidence to prove we were right all along.
And what's fueling this hunt for evidence? A lot of it comes down to something called social comparison theory. See, we're constantly measuring ourselves against the people around us to figure out where we fit in. So pointing out someone else's mistake can be a sneaky, subconscious way to make ourselves feel a little better, a little superior. It's a quick, easy ego boost.
Okay, case closed on that. Now let's flip it. Let's see what happens when we're the one in the hot seat. How do we suddenly become such amazing defense lawyers for ourselves?
The star witness for our own defense is always cognitive dissonance. See, we all have this picture of ourselves as smart, good, competent people. When we do something that doesn't fit that picture, like, say, making a really dumb mistake, it creates this uncomfortable clashing feeling inside. And to get rid of that feeling, we just tell ourselves a different story. We don't change how we see ourselves, we change the story around the mistake to make it fit.
So, and this is really the key, all this internal lawyering isn't just about dodging blame. It's a powerful self-preservation instinct. Every excuse, every justification we make is really just an attempt to protect our self-esteem, to keep that positive story we tell ourselves about who we are intact.
Now, this all might seem like a harmless little game we play in our heads, but these verdicts, they have very real consequences out in the world. So what happens when this bias escapes our own minds and starts messing with our lives?
Well, in our relationships, it just creates endless conflict and misunderstanding because we're blaming our partners for having character flaws instead of just considering their situation. At work, it completely kills teamwork and builds a culture where nobody wants to take responsibility for anything. And when you zoom out to a societal level, it fuels massive moral hypocrisy, where we hold everyone else to these impossibly high standards that we ourselves fail to meet every single day.
So if this is our default setting, are we just stuck like this? The good news is no, not at all. Just the fact that you now recognize this tendency is the biggest step you can take toward changing it. We can actually learn to become a fairer judge, not just for other people, but for ourselves too.
The path forward really has 4 key parts. First, you just have to acknowledge that the bias is there. That's the price of admission. Second, practice some humble introspection. Take a moment to look inward before you judge outward. Third, actively try to approach people with empathy. Force yourself to consider the external factors for them, just like you do for yourself. And finally, you gotta embrace accountability. That is the bedrock of all growth.
And look, this isn't just a checklist.
It's about shifting your whole mindset. It's about cultivating a little humility, being brave enough to ask for real honest feedback, and adopting a growth mindset where mistakes aren't failures, they're just lessons. It means learning to see our own flaws without that automatic knee-jerk defensiveness.
And please remember, the goal here is not to be perfect. That's impossible. The real goal is a continuous practice of becoming more self-aware, more empathetic, and ultimately just a little bit more fair in that courtroom inside your own head.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought to carry with you. After everything we've talked about, who will you judge a little more compassionately today? And remember, that question applies just as much to yourself as it does to anyone else.